Larry Youngblood. I'm running for Congress to replace your current 16-year incumbent. I know it's a tough challenge, but I'm sure spending a lot of money. Running for Congress, how are you doing today?
You are very conservative, huh?
Very.
Yes.
What'd you say?
Oh yes, we'll vote for him. There's this man here. Yeah.
Well,
Never hear anything from Kevin Brady till the election comes around. I mean, never hear him doing anything for anybody. And
I just feel that a lot of American people don't educate themselves on what is really happening in the background and what politics is and what's going on in the world. They don't keep up with it.
So they need to really investigate more about who's running and what they believe in.
Seems to me. I am pleased that I understand that some of the younger people are getting that, being that way.
Well, I'm glad you're out there voting. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. Very young lady.
Okay, Larry, how do you feel about the way the spending is going with our current congressman?
It seems like there is no deal he can't make to spend more money. Now, unfortunately, this must be in the water up there because they all do that. I am so tired of hearing the general response of, well, Larry, we got the best deal we could get. And if you talk about deals, the payroll tax deal that just passed, we took $100 billion out of Social Security, kept $4.2 billion for illegal aliens in the bill. We just added to the debt. Now, others will say, well, Larry, it was only $100 billion. Well, I gave you $100 billions add up.
And we're made by society to stay with our budget. But in Congress, it seems like they don't have to. Why is that?
So what does this budget have in common with the kind of family budget Americans wrestle with around the kitchen table? We ask ABC's Jake Tapper to break it down.
The budget the president introduced today is a 256-page way of describing his priorities.
Don't worry, I will not read it to you. It's long and a lot of numbers.
Indeed, a lot of numbers. So let's try it with numbers more easily understood. Removing 8 zeros from all the numbers. So say the $3.8 trillion budget is actually $38,000, like a family budget. This budget would have our American family spending $38,000 while only taking in $29,000. So our family is racking up $9,000 in new debt. And keep in mind, our family already owes $153,000 in credit card debt. Turning back to real numbers, that's a $15 trillion national debt, a number which keeps going up year after year after year. Does that seem responsible?
We need to make sure we get it right as we move forward. And then for the medium and long term, we do the things that we need to do to ensure that we reduce our deficit and debt.
Republicans say the president is abdicating his responsibility to lead.
Somebody asked me if this budget was dead on arrival, and I said, no, it's not dead on arrival, it's debt on arrival.
It's a political document, this budget, explaining the president's priorities. The budget pushes new taxes on individuals who make more than $200,000 a year, and some new spending on education and energy to serve as an economic stimulus. But the document also represents a broken promise for President Obama, who made this pledge at the beginning of his presidency.
Today, I'm pledging to cut the deficit we inherited by half by the end of my first term in office.
Of course, this was kabuki theater to a degree, Diane. The budget will not be passed by the House or the Senate because of Washington dysfunction. So really, this was about President Obama setting the stage.
We don't have a balanced budget amendment. Even, for instance, my experience on the Sci-Fair School Board, our budget was about $800 million, which is big for a school district. But we have a balanced budget requirement. And so we have to come up with cuts to do that. The 3 years I was on the school board, we kept taxes the same. We did not raise taxes. We did not eliminate homestead exemptions. We had to make difficult cuts to get to the point where we could keep that balanced budget. Right now we're heading headlong toward bankruptcy, a bankruptcy that could result in what happened to the Soviet Union. When they went broke, they fell apart into all kinds of pieces, and there there's been a lot of turmoil in that country since then.
Well, I think we don't believe that because we believe there's a big printing machine there in Washington and that will never run out of money. That's all a scare tactic, that we're not going to do that. And when people start talking about the grandchildren and the children in the future will not have this, they really don't seem to believe it or get it.
Well, here's a simple equation I like to use just to try to make it very clear. Borrowing plus spending equals deferred taxes. As you know, I was kind of a math guy.
Yes, yes.
If you lay it out that simply, if you borrow money and you spend it, somebody's going to pay it back. It's just a deferred tax. So our kids, our grandkids are going to have to pay taxes at higher rates in order to be able to pay that back.
Now, in Congress, when you get there, do you have people already that you know that you could align with that will help get some of these things done that you need done?
Oh, absolutely. Ted Poe and Louis Gohmert, Joe Barton, just wonderful guys who, in fact, voted against that payroll tax deal that we talked about that was so far out of line with what we should be doing in the way of spending less money. Borrowing money is still bad.
Well, if you align with Ted Poe, you're in good company. That's great.
Mr. Poe of Texas.
Question permission to address the House for 5 minutes.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Congress passed an energy bill which should have been called the Anti-American Non-Energy Bill because it punishes Americans for using energy rather than finding new sources of affordable energy. But the bill does one thing, Madam Speaker. It controls the type of light bulbs that all Americans must use throughout our fruited plains. Congress's energy bill bans incandescent light bulbs by 2014 and requires Americans to buy compact fluorescent bulbs. Those are called CFLs. Now we can say goodbye to Thomas Edison's incandescent bulb and his invention. Madam Speaker, I have a Constitution here, and like most members of Congress, I carry it with me. I've read it through and through, but I don't see anywhere in the U.S. Constitution that it gives the government the power to control the type of light bulbs used in Dime Box, Texas, or any other place in the United States.
But see, what's so stupid to me, and I hate to use the word stupid, but I'm sorry, it's the only word I can think of.
It's pretty close to stupid because they're always worried about the environment and not getting lead and not giving arsenic and all these things in the water and the air. You burst one of those light bulbs.
That's what I was going to say.
And you have to have a guy come out in a hazardous material guard, looks like coming out of the moon or something, to clean it up for you. It makes no sense, other than the fact that it may be one of those crony capitalism things with GE and China.
We can also thank Congress for giving more money to China. This light bulb, it says right here, with all the warnings on it, is made in China. And Madam Speaker, they are only made in China. They're not made in the United States. We import every one of these things. Meanwhile, gasoline nears $4 a gallon, and Congress still has no energy plan except turn on these light bulbs. Oh, I yearn for the day when America took care of Americans by developing our own abundant natural resources, like coal and natural gas and crude oil, to provide affordable energy to America. But those days have gone the way of Edison's incandescent light bulb. We might as well turn out the lights. The party's over. And that's just the way it is. I yield back.
We can provide for ourselves if they let us, if they just let us. Would you fight for that?
Absolutely. The XL pipeline is an absolute requirement. I can't imagine a president sitting up there in Washington saying, we don't need those 6,000 to 30,000 jobs.
New jobs, yeah.
We don't need that 1 million barrels a day of oil, 700,000 to 1 million barrels a day. We don't need that. Of course, here we are now sitting at $108 a barrel today.
It does not make sense at all to us. And in Texas of all places, that we are known, or we're branded with the fact that it's sitting in our backyard and we can't use it or get it processed so that we can have it. So I think things like that drive me crazy as a Texan.
Right now we have refinery capacity, so people send their oil here for us to refine, to send the gasoline elsewhere. So there's really not a way of cutting the price of gas using somebody else's oil. What we need to do is produce our own oil.
Amen, brother.
That's the only way we can get our price down. It needs to be a whole lot more Texas common sense up there.
Amen, brother. That's a good way to end that.
Of course, I do want everyone to, when they go to the polls, just recall I'm a fifth-generation natural-born Texan, and my opponent is from North Dakota.
Thank you, Larry, so much.
Okay, I appreciate it.